Hello, and welcome to the Oileánach Knits podcast. Episode 10, I think, which is pretty wild. My name is Heather. I am the knitwear designer behind Oileánach Knits, and I forget what I say now. It's been such a long time. My pronouns are they, them, and I am knitting to you from St. John's, Newfoundland, and that is the island of Newfoundland, which is Ktaqmkuk, which I've only just recently learned how to say, so thank you to my friend Jordan for teaching me, and I hope I did an okay job. Which is the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq and the Beothuk people, and it's just started snowing, which feels kind of wild, and I've just gotten back from vacation. So I believe the last time I was here, I was telling you about my vacation to Scotland. I did not go to Scotland. I'm a pretty impulsive person, especially when it comes to things like travel and any kind of creative freedom that I can have. So I had a trip to Scotland planned, and I had all kinds of hopes and dreams. I was going to go through the Outer Hebrides and then hang out in the Highlands for a bit, was considering a trip to Shetland, and then I got cold, basically. We had a stint of really horrible weather here where it was like -35 with wind chill and stuff like that. And a lot of the things that I wanted to do, like textile museums and things like that, were closed in the middle of February, which seems reasonable. So I started to think that maybe it wasn't the best timing. So I rescheduled my flights and I went to the Canary Islands. There was no wool at all. I saw like 5 sheep the whole time I was there, and they were like on a mountain on the other side of a valley, and I couldn't find any binoculars, which I've never really wanted in my life. And then suddenly I was like, I need binoculars right now so I can see these sheep because they're the first sheep I've seen. Anyway, all that to say that I just got back from the Canary Islands. It was a wild experience. It was not really what I was expecting, and I don't know if I've even really processed the trip yet, to be honest. So I was on Gran Canaria and Tenerife, which I think are the 2 biggest and the most like central of the, I think 7 or 8 islands. And Gran Canaria was amazing. It was just such a chill place, and so I spent a few days in the capital, La Palma, which was like a really charming, I was like right in the old town. It was a really charming place, and sorry if you can hear that. There's some massive trucks coming in. I live on like a cul-de-sac, and there's some like enormous, I don't know, construction trucks or something happening out there. Anyway, yeah, so I spent some time in like wandering around the old town and eating a lot of tapas, and then I spent some time in the mountains, which was amazing. It was so beautiful there. It was also quite cold. Like I went to the Canary Islands because I needed sun and warmth. And then I like pretty immediately went into the mountains where it was like 5 degrees, which means I totally could have handled Scotland, but what do you do? Yeah, it was amazing and beautiful, and I wound up staying in this mountain hostel, which was not at all what you would picture a hostel to be. It was like a hiker's hostel, so it was all these just really interesting people from all over the world. Well, that's a bit of a lie. It was pretty much European people, actually. Northern European people, to be honest. Um, yeah, and just such cool people. And we went for lots of hikes, and there was a wood stove in the main room of the hostel, like the hanging out room, and the mountains were amazing. It was so beautiful. The place is an old converted farm, and so like it was two Italians running the place, and I don't speak Italian or Spanish really, so I didn't like I had a hard time communicating with the chef, but he was such a like chill person, and every day I'd see him like going out to like get the fresh eggs from the chickens and like picking herbs from the garden for dinner and stuff. And then Claudio, who like kind of ran the place, was such a cool person. Everyone was so chill, and every night there would be like a big communal vegetarian dinner. Oh my gosh, I love that place so much. It was called Finca La Isa if you're ever on Gran Canaria and you want to hang out in a really amazing place. Yeah, so that was really special. And then I went to Tenerife and I hung out on the beach for a little bit, which I don't know, like I'm just not really like I didn't go anywhere near the resorts or anything. But you know, I found Tenerife kind of weird. Like there was a weird vibe, and I just kind of made the best of it and went for lots of walks by myself and wandered into the kind of like the landscape there was amazing. It was like kind of badlands where it was like a bit deserty, but there was a lot of like interesting cactuses and like I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a sandy landscape, but like also a lot of sandstone and like weird rock formations, and that was really, really cool. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then I stayed in a little like log cabin on the edge of another mountain range. And then I spent some more time in the city Santa Cruz, which was really weird because they were just kind of like tearing down from the carnival. And so that was a really interesting time. Anyway, I took like 10 rolls of film and I'm so excited to get them back. And if you're interested, I will show some of those when I get them back. If they're any good, I really hope they came out. Yeah, so that was a really interesting experience. I looked everywhere for wool. I went to every yarn shop I could find. I did lots of Googling, even though it was mostly in Spanish, so it was hard. And I did not find any local wool. And I talked to a lot of like shop owners and stuff as well in the like craft shops, and nobody knew of any local wool. So that was a bit disappointing, but you know, if it's not there to find, you're not going to find it. Yeah, I started to feel a little sad about not knitting. It was really strange. So I didn't bring any knitting with me. Just didn't feel like it, I guess. And it was kind of nice actually to take a bit of a break. Like I really, really missed it by the end, for sure. But at first, like, it was nice to just kind of have moments where I wasn't doing anything, because I find at home, like, if I'm sitting still for more than a few minutes, I'm knitting, and so it felt strange at first, but it was refreshing. I like to change things up now and then anyway. I don't like getting too worn into any routine, because I feel like it stops kind of meaning anything. And I think my wrists appreciated the break for sure. And I wound up kind of like, I brought a lot of books, and I'm a writer in my everyday life. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand that I'm also a reader, and I've never read so little in the years, like in the last few years since I've started knitting. I've never read so little in my life, and I think it's because like a lot of the time that I would normally be reading a book, I now have knitting in my hands, you know what I mean? And especially like the time, like early in the morning, first when I wake up, I like to have a little bit of chill time with my coffee before I start like thinking about my day. And that used to be reading, and now it's mostly knitting. And same with kind of at the end of the evening before I go to bed. So it was really nice to kind of have all of this reading time that I haven't had in a while. I read 5 books and I ran out. I had a quick stopover in Dublin for a couple of hours before, because my flight plan was ridiculous. Flying home, I flew Tenerife to Dublin to Toronto to St. John's. This is island life. And I took the bus into town from the Dublin airport and dragged my suitcase into the Winding Stair, one of my favorite bookshops in Dublin, and allowed myself a gentle hour to just browse the bookshelves and picked out something. It was quite good. It was Ruth and Pen by Emily Pine. It's like it was a novel. It was really good. I liked it. A pretty like quick, easy read kind of thing. I read it on the plane from Toronto, or from Dublin to Toronto. But yeah, it was really nice to spend so much time reading, and I read a lot of essays and a couple novels, and I love the way my brain works when I'm reading. I love the way, you put down the book, but then the ideas of the book kind of form this film over the way that you perceive the world for a while. And I love that. So that was really, really nice. And I definitely want to make more of an effort now to read more at home as well. And I did a lot of writing as well. Not so much like, normally when I travel, I want to be kind of like writing creative work, but I think this was more just kind of personal writing, just processing the last year. Really, it's been a very tumultuous one for me. So I don't know, I think it was a very melancholic trip for me, but it was also like really necessary, and it gave me a lot of perspective, and it was a bit of a rest that I think I really needed. Not very much of a rest though, because I wound up having to work pretty much every day for writing stuff. My publisher was emailing me like 5 times a day. But that's fine. There. Okay. Yeah. So that was, I went on a trip and it was pretty nice. And I got back really, really late Friday night, and had a really big sleep in my own bed, which was just so nice. I feel like I never used to be such a creature of home, but it was honestly such a joy to come home this time, and I really loved, like, I got home, got a shower, put on a wool sweater, and just like nuzzled down in my bed and was just like, yes. I was so happy. And then I gave myself the weekend to kind of like rest, especially because my flight home was 48 hours of transit, which was a lot. And yeah, like I was staying in hostels a fair bit, which was, I want to say, a big mistake, especially except for that, except for the mountain one. That was amazing, but otherwise I'm too old and grumpy, and I'm not a very good sleeper, so if someone's snoring, I am just like lying there plotting ways to smack them. And yeah, so I definitely won't be doing that again. I love solitude. I love my space, and you know, I did it because money, but I don't know. I don't know if I can do it ever again. But anyway, I made the best of it. And yeah, so when I got home, I just really was reveling in my own space. And then I got up the next morning and I was like, my own kitchen? What? And so I just like baked bread and all these other elaborate things and pie and made a big soup. Just, I've been so enjoying being home. And I've started a sort of spring clean, which it's definitely not spring here. Yeah, it is currently snowing. There's about like 6 feet of snow that's just frozen into a chunk of ice, which is a typical Newfoundland winter, or at least St. John's winter. Yeah, so it's definitely not spring, but I don't know. We'll call it like a coming home clean or something. Yeah, so that's the news. I also, like, I know that before I left, I've basically just been really swamped for months, leading up to the trip. And that's mostly from like writing deadlines and stuff. I've got a novel coming out this fall, and so all of the edits and copy edits and book design and all that stuff has been happening for the last few months, like really intensely on like tight deadlines. And so I haven't had much time to be, I mean, on the one hand, on the other hand, for knitting things as well. And so I've actually, like, I stress knit quite a lot during the winter, and so I've got a lot of things done, but I need to like write up patterns and start tests and stuff like that. So I did start the test for this before I left, and so this is the Solastalgia Cardigan, which I am deeply and truly proud of. We've got our little caribou friends and some candlelight happening. And I'm sure I've talked about this lots before, so I won't go too much into it, but I will say that the test for this is concluding soon. And one of the things on my to-do list today and kind of this week is to get this all. I took the photos yesterday. I'm not 100% happy with them. I never feel super satisfied with indoor photos. I think because I mean, it would feel nicer, I think, if I had like not bright yellow and blue walls. And painting the walls has been on my to-do list for quite a while, and I have the paint, but I just don't have the energy or the time, or haven't yet, but someday it'll happen. And yeah, so I don't feel like I've got a great space for indoor photos. So I don't love the photos that I've taken, so I might try and do some outdoor photos depending on how this weather pans out. But anyway, suffice it to say that this week I will be doing all of the final preparations for this, so that once I have all the information I need for my testers, I will be ready to release it, which is really exciting. I haven't put out a sweater in almost a year, which is crazy because I feel like all I've been doing is knitting sweaters. I just love this one so much, and I'm really excited to share it. And yeah, all the My testers are all finishing up now, so their photos are coming in and they look beautiful, and I'm just really excited. Yeah, I'm just admiring the sweater in the in the screen. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one, and I will be doing all the work in the next few days so that it should be ready to release. What is it now? It's March 7th, my goodness. I think I'll have this out in the next 2 weeks. The test technically ends at the end of March, but everyone's finishing already, so I don't really see the point in waiting. So I will, I'm recording this before I've sat down and figured everything out, so I don't really have a date for you right now, but suffice it to say that it will be out somewhat soon, and I will talk about that more on my Instagram once I have dates figured out. Yeah, I also, on my docket today, is to finish writing the pattern for this beauty that I just adore. This is the sweater that I dreamed most about wearing when I got home. On the plane home, I was like literally kind of dozing off and dreaming about coming home and putting this sweater on because it's so soft and cozy, and I love it dearly. And I started writing it before I left, and I actually intended to test this one before this one, but I've never written a raglan before, and so I feel like I'm constantly second guessing myself, and because it's kind of complicated with like the color work and stuff within the raglan, I just feel less confident about it. So I have it written basically, not yet graded, but I've got it like the pattern written out for my size essentially, and then I'll grade it and put all the other information in. So I just basically need to sit down today and confirm everything and make sure it's all good, and then grade it. And then I will be ready to call for testers. So this will probably be called for this week. Yeah, so watch my Instagram if you are interested in that, in test knitting it. I also, well, I don't have it here. I'm almost finished the second version, which I did just plain with no color work in a green, held with silk mohair, and that is, I'm really excited to finish that. I still have the sleeves, so who knows how long that will take. So these are my two currently almost finished and available, at least to test, sweaters that will be coming out in the next while. And I'm really excited about that because, yeah, I feel like I've only put out accessories for the last like several months, even though I've mostly been working on these sweaters. And then I've started a few other projects as well. All I want to do right now is design sweaters, and I've got like 6 lined up that are like ready to knit. I just need to finish knitting the one that came before and like write the patterns. So this was a bit of a spontaneous cast on, in which I did some math, and instead of swatching or anything, I drew out the design and then I just started knitting it, and luckily it all worked, because that would have been really devastating if it had not worked out. But yeah, so this is the yoke of, it doesn't have a name yet. I've been calling it the grayscale. But yeah, it is a classic style lopipeza. Can never remember how to say it. I basically just, when I booked my flights to Iceland, which is happening in August, which is crazy because I can't afford it right now, but that's fine. I'll figure it out. Yeah, when I booked my flights to Iceland, I was daydreaming about Actually, I'm just gonna knit on this right now because I'm on the body. Yeah, when I booked my flights to Iceland, I was daydreaming about going to, you know, the great Icelandic sweater store and thinking like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna buy? Of course I gotta buy a sweater in Iceland. And then I kind of went to their website and started looking at them, and I was like, oh my god, they're like $400. And as much as I'm sure they're worth it, I'm also totally capable of knitting one myself. And so I was looking at the patterns that they had, and I was also kind of like, I mean, they're all beautiful, but none of them is exactly what I want. And I feel like that's one of the reasons I kind of got into knitting in the first place is, you know, you can just, if you make your own, you can decide how you want it to look. And so I started looking around at old photos of kind of vintage Icelandic sweaters, and I was liking those, like a lot of the older vintage designs a lot more, and especially like the ones from the 80s, 90s, but the 80s, 90s ones have a huge puffy sleeves, and they're all, and I kind of was in the mood for something a bit more fitted, because I think a lot of my sweaters are a bit like boxy or oversized, and so I was in the mood for something a bit more fitted. And obviously the answer was to design my own. So this is kind of inspired by kind of traditional, or not necessarily traditional, but it's inspired by kind of like 80s, 90s style Icelandic sweaters, but it is more fitted. And so I'm really excited about that. I love to knit with let lopi, and I hadn't really knit with let lopi. Well, that's a lie. I feel like I'm constantly knitting with let lopi, but I hadn't done a let lopi sweater since my very first one until I finished this, or until I knit this. And I think I had put this down for quite a while I was finishing up something else. And when I picked it up again, just to do the finishing touches, I was like, you know what? I haven't knit with let lopi in ages for a sweater, and it's just so pleasant. And I have some let lopi, like a sweater's quantity, and so I'm just gonna do it. And so all these factors came together, and now I've designed a new sweater. It's gonna have a little bit of detailing, similar to this kind of pattern on the cuff and on the bottom, with like contrasting cuffs. And there we go. I mean, it's a style of sweater that I've knit a couple of times and designed a couple of times, so I know all the dimensions. So it's basically, I'm probably going to call for testers once I knit one sleeve, which I will do too. So this one's not that far off either, which is it's kind of wild to have like 3 sweaters on the go all at once, but there you go. I feel like that's just how I roll. I'll kind of be in the incubation stage for a long time, and then suddenly I'm like, would you like to see everything I've been working on? Yeah, so that's exciting. I also have the Uist sweater that I've been working on for absolutely ages. I thought I had it this time, and I finished the body and one sleeve, and I tried it on, and it's just not right. And I'm so deeply disappointed, because I feel like I've restarted that sweater so many times, and I just can't quite get it right. And I think part of it is that I've been salvaging certain parts. Like I liked the way the color work was on the bottom of the body, so I just kind of ripped back to there and then started again. But then I think my gauge had changed, because it had been several months. So it's currently in my like shame corner. I don't know if shame's the right word. No, it's definitely not. But sometimes if a project is misbehaving, I'll just put it in a corner so I don't have to look at it for a little while. And then when I feel ready, then I'll return to it. So it's currently in that corner, so I won't show you, but I think I'm just going to unravel the whole thing and start again. And I think that will hopefully work out. Yeah. In a way, it's kind of good that I didn't wind up going to Scotland, because my intention was to finish it on the trip so I could bring it to the folks at the factory at Uist and show them, or at the mill, sorry, and show them the sweater I had made. So it would have been very embarrassing if I showed up and it was just a total mess. So we'll see. Hopefully by the next episode I will have come back to it, but for now it's in my sad corner. Yeah, so that's, I mean, I guess I haven't been, you know, working on anything for a bit of a while, really, other than what I've shown you now, because, yeah, I've been gone, and then before I left, I was completely and utterly swamped with book things. So the book now, has gone through all the substantive edits, and it's just the copy edits left. Those will be happening toward the end of the month, and then it'll be off to print, which is very exciting. I feel like I've struggled so much with the edits on this one, and like with one kind of part of the book in particular, I just couldn't get it right, and you know, went through all the deep dark parts of doubt. And it was horrible to be going through that during kind of the dead of winter as well. Oh, so it feels really relieving to kind of have that part done. Yeah, so I'm really excited now as well. We've been going through the cover design stuff while I was away, so I guess I'm at the point now where any day I'm waiting for an email that will be like, here's your book cover, that's really exciting, and I hope I love it. We wound up finding the work of a really stunning artist who works with experimental film photography and collage, and I really hope, so like last I heard we were trying to get in touch with her for permission to use one of her images, and so I'm really hoping that works out. Yeah, and then I don't know, I guess the next big thing I've got coming up is my artist residency in June at Union House Arts, where I'll be doing natural dyeing from the environment to create a sweater design based on the place, and I think that's gonna be really fun, and I've got all kinds of experiments that I want to do while I'm there, so I'm really looking forward to that, which reminds me that I need to apply for a grant for materials this week. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of in this place now where I'm kind of gently lowering myself back down into the work and to the winter, and yeah, trying to kind of bring some of the energy, I guess, from my trip into my home and clean things and organize and just try to make a better making space. I really want to, once I kind of catch up on some work and have a bit more time, I'd like to, I feel like I've been saying this since I moved in, but I need to paint my office and organize it. And I've got a bit of a plan. I want to get some shelves to go around the top of the ceiling so that I can put all my yarn up there, all my like yarn baskets and stuff, so that those are up off the floor and just create more space and less clutter, because I feel like I work better when I've got a bit of a clear space. So that's a plan. I also have been missing the woods a lot. I went on one amazing hike when I was in the mountains on Gran Canaria, which went through this amazing like pine forest. The landscapes are so varied on those islands, it's amazing. But yeah, I've been really missing the woods, the forest, and I want to go. It's tricky this time of year because everything is ice. All the snow is turned to pure ice, and so it's hard to kind of move around in the woods, but I'd love to like go have a little like fire in a boil up or something, or that's a big Newfoundland thing. I'm sure it has a normal name for everyone else. I can't remember what it would be, but a boil up is when you kind of like, you go into the woods and in the snow and you make a little fire and you boil the kettle and make some tea or have a snack or something. And it's very special to me. Yeah, so I'd love to do something like that, or I don't know, just go for a walk even in nature. Not that I didn't get lots and lots of nature while I was away, but it would be nice to see my home nature. Anyway, I guess that's all I've really got to share for now. I just kind of wanted to check in and reestablish some of the routines and things, because I know I wasn't really keeping up with podcasting or any of that while I was away. I also I shut down my Patreon for a little while I was going through these couple of really busy months, because I just didn't have the capacity to be doing anything extra, or to be making more content. And I felt like if I did try to force it, it would just wind up being me sitting here exhausted, not knowing kind of what to say or do. Yeah, so I think one of the things I want to do this month is to try and prepare some stuff so that going into April at least I can restart that and have things to share. I know I'm getting hungry and it's lunchtime, and I'm going to make a little snack and get back to work. It's not lunchtime, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Breakfast is what I believe we call this. Yeah, anyway, thanks for joining me here today, and I know this is a bit of a short one with probably less knitting content than usual, but yeah, thanks for checking in and hanging out with me this morning. I will be doing my best to get some new sweater patterns to you very, very soon. And I hope you are having a good week. I hope the winter and maybe the spring, if you're one of those lucky people, is treating you well. And I hope you are knitting something that brings you a lot of joy. And I hope you have a really nice snack today. Snacks are important. Slight side note to say that I I gained quite a reputation in the mountains as the person who would commit crimes for pasta, which I think that's a nice reputation to have. I ate some really good pasta while I was there. Anyway, tangent aside, I hope you have a really lovely day. And thanks for being here, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.